Now let's go to one of my favorite and one of the best estate planning tools, and that is a trust. So you may have heard of it as a revocable trust or a living trust, or maybe even a revocable living trust. There are a lot of different names for a trust. There are a lot of different trusts for a lot of different reasons. But most people don't need a lot of the tax planning. Most people don't need a whole lot of the specialized trust planning. Most people just need a tool to avoid probate. And we all remember what probate was from the beginning of this conversation. It is a very stressful process that I want people to avoid, really just so that they have peace of mind. I don't mind doing probate because it's my job. I get paid for it. I do hold a lot of hands through probate. And the clients that come to me and they have a trust in place, they are so relieved that they have a trust in place. And all I have to do is say, yes, this is what you have to do. This is all you have to do. You have to file this document here, and you're done. Property automatically transfers to the trust, automatically transfers to the beneficiaries. We don't have to go to court. They are incredibly relieved when I tell them that. But they spent some time, or their parents or whoever it was spent some time to put it together to make sure the children wouldn't have to go through probate. So two types of trusts, really. You've got the revocable, which I've been talking about, and then irrevocable. Okay, the revocable actually becomes irrevocable at death, meaning it protects your kids. If we're talking about a single parent that has a trust set up for their minor children and they leave everything to their minor children are protected because that trust becomes irrevocable. Nobody can change it because it's been set up to benefit your kids. So once your kids reach a certain age, whether it's 20, well, I usually say 25, 25, 30, 35, however you want it set. And it really depends on how much is in there. We want to make sure that money is used for their health, education, and welfare. So really just whatever that child needs while they're growing up. And remember, we've placed them with a person that we've chosen to be their guardian. So it's really helping that person raise your kid the way you would want to raise your kid. So that's a revocable trust. Irrevocable trusts are often used for tax planning purposes. I don't do a whole lot of that because I service the majority of the people that are under the $12 million, $24 million assets. Okay, my normal clients have a house. They might have $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, $5 million in assets. Some of them a couple $100,000 in assets. But I don't do the trust or the tax planning that an irrevocable trust would require. And I work with families with small kids, and that's why we're always going back to the kids and going back to making sure the kids are taken care of. So there are three parties or three roles to a trust. There's a person who originally owns the asset. Okay, I'm going to use myself as an example. So if I have my trust, let's say I have a house. I put the house in the box. The box is the trust. So I put my house in the trust. So that person is known as the grantor or trustor or even the settlor. So there are three names for that one role: grantor, trustor, settler. Those are the people that own the property, one person or two people, whatever it is, and you put that into the trust. The trustee is the person that manages that asset that's in the trust. So initially it's going to be me, and when I pass away, I get to name who takes over my role as the trustee. So let's just say I name my wife to be my trustee, my successor trustee. So she steps in the role, and now she's responsible for taking care of the assets that are in the trust. And then there's the beneficiary. The beneficiary is the one who the trust benefits. So while I'm alive, I am the beneficiary of my trust. So I'm the trustor, grantor, settler. I am the trustee, and I'm the beneficiary. So I am all three roles. And that is what creates the revocability of it, because I'm still in control of whatever I want to do with the assets that are in my trust. And this is where a lot of people get confused. They think, well, I'm putting it in a trust, I lose control of it. No, you may lose control of it if it's going into an irrevocable trust. But when it goes into a revocable trust or a living trust, you are all three parties. And when all three parties are in control of the assets in the trust, most likely you have a revocable trust and something you can change. That means I can sell the house, I can improve the house, I can get a loan on the house, I can rent the house out, I can do whatever I want with it. And whatever I do with it, that money comes back to me. And I'm personally responsible, or the trust is responsible for the expenses for that house. So if there's a mortgage on it, I still have to pay the mortgage. If I've got to get a roof repaired, I've got to repair the roof. I can have a bank account in the name of a trust, or I can use my personal bank account. It doesn't matter. It's not a taxable entity either. So that's a question I answered the other day from a client as well. So it's not a taxable entity. You do not need a tax ID for a revocable trust. You just use your own social security number. You just let your CPA know that you have a trust, and chances are it's not going to affect anything in your taxes or anything that your tax preparer even has to do. So the trust is the best tool to protect your kids from now until well into their adulthood. And they can avoid probate when you pass away. And their guardians will be taken care of with the instructions that you've left behind in the trust to make sure there's money for those kids as they are raised by the guardian.